Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
It's time, yet again, to explore the vast catalog and find out what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight we're talking Loki, Season 2, Episode 1, Ouroboros. Yeah, Dragon, I'm going to hand it off to you. Let's just dive right into it. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought this was a solid reintroduction to Loki. That was a fun episode. The stakes were, very direct, very simple for episode 1. We kind of had to get things in order so we can get along with our, presumably our main story for 2. A lot of Kang buildup. I was really thrilled with it. I thought it was a really real solid opener, which is not always the case for some of our Marvel series.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, I think this is definitely like I've always kind of like looked at Guardians of the Galaxy as sort of like its own thing. I know obviously it's technically MCU, but it's much more of a James Gunn thing than anything else. So I would say, with the exception of Guardians Volume 3, this is definitely the most satisfying MCU product that we have had in a while. Now, keep in mind, I know this isn't the most popular opinion in the world, but I honestly kind of thought that Loki Season 1 definitely had its ups and downs, but it had an awesome start. As you know, Dragon, I was not a fan of that finale. The finale, I think, is very divisive. I think I see just as many people have my opinion of it, which is basically that it's just like an exposition dump with a performance that I don't really like. That's kind of anchored by the fact that the performance comes from a man who is now very real world problematic, which we'll get into. But
you didn't know it at the time, though. No one knew that.
I know, but still, it doesn't make the episode any better in retrospect. The fact that literally the whole episode is just him. But anyways. So yeah, I definitely think this is a step in the right direction for the show. What's really funny though, Dragon? I don't know why I was so like. You remember one of my big criticisms with the end of season 2?
What?
It was basically like the whole idea of like, oh great, now Mobius doesn't know who Loki is. We're gonna have to start all this character development from the beginning.
We didn't.
Yeah, I was stupid. I was stupid.
Yeah. I won't lie to you. I was fearing episode 1 would have to be like a full-on catch-up episode. I was so pleased it did not go that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I figured we were gonna have. I knew they weren't going to do that for like half the season or anything, but I did think it might have been at the very end of the first episode. Then he's going to be caught up, but we cut through that instantly.
Yeah, so the time traveling stuff in this episode is like honestly pretty awesome. Especially the scene with our title character here that we'll get to.
Oh boy.
That scene is genuinely like some Back to the Future shit, man. But of course, one of the big highlights is Kiwi Kwan, who, man, I got to tell you, this character just injects a whole lot of new energy into this show. So I guess how do you want to do this? Do you want to kind of just jump? Like we've already said our thesis statements. I'm a little rusty on these recaps.
Well, yeah, we're just gonna. Unless there's any comments, we're just gonna go through it.
We do not have any comments right now, so.
Yeah. So, one thing of note we should mention before we get into this, one other thing, we don't really do background on these sorts of things, but if I understand correctly, I could be wrong here, but I believe we changed showrunners for season 2. I remember that being a big thing they were announcing between seasons. And I believe the writer of this episode is the showrunner, which traditionally is what they like to do. They like to have kind of like the main guy who's orchestrating things right at least the first episode of the season to kind of map it out. So Michael Waldron from Rick and Morty, he was the guy show running the show initially, and he wrote the first episode, season 1. This time around, it's Eric Martin, who was around for season 1. Assuming he's taken the reins. Just want to shout that out. Just, one of the writers is kind of taking over, and the direction of the show does feel on brand, but it also feels maybe a little refocused. And I don't know how much of that is I don't know how much of that is just the fact of like, okay, we've established everything, and we're in the universe, and we're telling a different story where it's not the introduction to the TVA. We're just kind of moving on with the big story at hand. Because
I will say, like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, because apparently from the beginning, this show was planned out for 2 seasons, and this is a 2-season narrative, kind of like My Adventures of Superman and everything. What they're planning, this show was planned to have like, it was always supposed to be a cliffhanger with season 1.
Right. And with that in mind, I would say probably like this isn't really even a fair critique, but just kind of something like I don't really want to watch the season 1 finale again, because of the Jonathan Majors of it all.
Well, the point, they recapped it in the top.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it is like this episode, like one of the few things like it's not even a complaint because it's like an unfair criticism. Like I can't even call it a criticism, but I did have a little bit of a rough time. Like there is a lot of shit going on in this episode, so I had a little bit of a rough time. Like, okay, like I have to kind of like pick up the pieces. Like I probably should have watched. Like I'm very much recommending. My dad is planning on just binging this all when it's all released. But I told him I very much recommend him watch the season 1 finale again. But yeah, I mean, it's like we're really, whereas season 1, like you said, it was kind of like building the foundation of the
what
TVA.
is the TVA, how does it work,
right?
What's pruning, stuff like that.
Whereas this season, it's like, okay, it's like buckle up, buckaroo. It's like we're not holding your hand anymore.
Yeah, we are firmly in it. Also one other thing to consider is just to feed into things as we break it down here. We're in uncharted territory here. I mean, because this is coming out before What If season 2. This is the first time we have a show that was planned out for more than 1 season. That was more just like, we'll see how it goes, or we'll see how we feel about it. Loki again was from the get-go a 2-season show, so. It's the first time we're doing it with the Disney Plus stuff, because we've had kind of our special presentation with Werewolf by Night and Guardians, and now we're kind of seeing what the 2-season plan looks like, and so far, so good. We'll see how again a show with a plan,
And I still think that some of those like Moon Knight and Hawkeye, for example, are two where it's like I like both of those shows. Like I don't love either of them, and I think both of them probably would have been better as movies, honestly, kind of trim the fat off of them. But
that's what I'm saying. This show might have like this is gonna be so far. This will be the longest show that we've gotten from
sure,
if you lump in both seasons together. And as before, we're getting like there.
You know what show I think is honestly kind of aged like fine wine as far as like a perfect like 1-season narrative that's gonna ebb smoothly into the overall timeline.
What?
Fucking Falcon Winter Soldier.
Okay.
I thought you'd be more happy. Like
I am more happy. I don't know.
As time goes on, Dragon, I'm appreciating Falcon Winter Soldier more.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know how if you're being facetious or not when you say
no,
that.
I'm not. I'm genuinely not. Honestly, like I feel like because WandaVision had the potential to go really well into Multiverse of Madness, but we all know how that paid off. Whereas with Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's a really good kind of like in between. It's like picking up the pieces from Endgame, getting Falcon into a position where he's really ready to take up the shield. Solid 1-season narrative. And then we're going to jump right into New World Order. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's pretty standalone. It's basically it's a transitional piece. It's kind of what you need.
So far, I feel like as far as the 1-season stuff goes, that's probably been the most successful.
It's kind of odd on the opposite side of the spectrum here. Loki is technically the most pivotal show of all these Disney Plus series when you think about it.
Right.
Anyway, so okay, so Loki's time slipping, and so this is the thing I really have to wonder if we did indeed change showrunners. Which again, the writer was there during the first season, so I don't know how dramatic a shift this is. I have to wonder if this was like we may have had a plan because again, they are plotting 2 seasons, so you have to. I wonder if the time slips are something they came up with between seasons, or if it was the plan from the start. Because it feels like Loki shows up at the end of 1, and no one knows who he is. My assumption, and they're not saying this necessarily isn't true, because we don't know fully why he was time slipping. We have a good idea as to why, but I thought it was just Kang screwing around with them. It was like
right, yeah.
That's like, hey, you killed the He Who Remains. I don't like that. then again, I mean, he's kind of grateful that he killed He Who Remains because now all the Kangs are coming through the doorway. So regardless, it's the fact that you imagine, okay, so Loki's just going to show up, but now we have this time slipping thing. Is like a cool, like little, like, okay, this is a little different. Something, he's being both born and dying at the same time in a really trippy, freaky way.
Okay, let's talk about the visual effects on that game because they are on fucking point.
It was amazing, right? Just
Yeah,
like how creepy. I remember, like in the trailer, you saw like a brief thing of like a lot of people have compared, rightfully so, with the multiversal thing. And I know this is not quite that here, but it's very similar to the glitching in Spider-Verse. But again, great minds thinking alike,
Well, I mean, it's similar, but I mean, it's like whereas like with Spider-Verse, like you said, it was almost kind of like an actual glitch. Like it's like the
well, this is him being literally pulled between.
This is more like we're seeing the effect that it actually has on the human body.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's like Taffy. He's being pulled between the past and the future, which is trippy. And that's like, oh god, it's like Marty McFly's worst nightmare. That's his PTSD nightmare from Back to the Future of like, I was in the past, there he's in the past, and now there he's in the future, there's the Old West somewhere.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so again, assumedly, we're in the new Kang status quo here. Now it's a question of how this is going to play out because it seems like, the Kang stuff might have been there from the start, but now he knows about it. Now he's unveiling it. Now that he knows about it, it's a question of how much of that is like from Sylvie killing He Who Remains. That there's been a shift in time, which would explain the time slips. Because all we know is he was sent using the He Who Remains temp pad. That's the theory as to why he is time slipping. He was kicked through the very special temp pad when he shouldn't have been. So that's assumably what's going on. But again, I think there's more to it personally. I think there's some Kang stuff going on here to why he was time slipping.
And you also, with the Kang stuff, you also got to wonder, like, are they, because so far we have not seen the actual man himself, Dragon. You got to wonder, like, are they kind of like almost editing around him? Like, I wasn't expecting to see.
We heard not Kang, but He Who Remains. But... Yeah, we heard He Who Remains. We didn't hear Kang though.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
So I am wondering how much of the Jonathan Major stuff is going to be like, kind of like edited around, because like obviously this show is in a very, very.
They can't edit Tiki. His face is all over this first.
I know.
Edit around it. He's part of the structure of.
Look, I'm just saying the actual man himself. Like if there's like scenes that he had that maybe they recontextualized to like have people talk about it instead or something,
I don't, Tiki. That's gonna be ridiculous if they have to do. They're gonna have to. We saw like a scene of him like when we had like a tease of one of the scenes he's gonna have in this. I think they're building to reveal. I think I'm gonna predict this. I predict Kang. We're gonna see him in the third episode. That's where I.
You know what's funny is that how we usually have the complaint about like with the MCU shows and even Star Wars shows to a certain extent where it's like, okay, it's taken them an awful long time to get to the main villain. This is like one of the times where it's like real world situation.
Take your time.
Yeah, maybe it should take some time to get to him.
But it's kind of interesting. We are building the menace, and with the real world stuff, there's
right. It is there is like a weird meta quality there. Yeah,
there's an alleged menace. Anyway. So, so he's again. It's a really great idea that so the TVA we've established very firmly. Time works differently in the TVA. That's the big cell line. So there is no past, present, or future really at the TVA. So the fact this is happening is an anomaly that's baffling everyone. That's where my Kang theories come in. And they're like, how does that? If the ordinary temp pads don't do that, something funky's going on there. But regardless, so. We have let's talk about Casey. Casey. I love the mini arc of Casey in this show. Casey's basically I can nickname him the fish guy. Casey,
right.
Casey the fish guy. It's like Casey, I'll turn you into a fish. What's a fish? How do you not know what a fish is? So he's had this. He's kind of built this camaraderie with this ancillary character. And he's like desperately Loki on the run. He's lost his buddy Mobius. He's trying to tell somebody about his big Sylvie moment, and he's on the run. He's jumped out a literal window, and they're like, Casey, help me! And like, I'm turning him in. Then the little time slip away. Oh, Casey, my good friend, where's Mobius?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's kind of delightful. We built kind of camaraderie at the TVA.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, Loki's going to destroy everyone's cell at the TVA.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, like I already kind of alluded to, it's nice that we get right into it with like Loki reunites with Mobius pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, very painful with all that time slipping, but he does reunite with them.
What do you think of our new the other new character? Well, we get a couple new characters, but like the one I'm thinking of specifically is I'm sorry, Dry, I'm kind of blanking on the names of, obviously, besides our title character, the new characters here, but the woman who's kind of like holding court.
Yeah, so this is the thing. There was one regret I have because I do remember everything that happened in Loki. There's just one detail I did not remember, well, from the first season. If Ravonna, I could have sworn she was alone on the judges, on behind the bench when she sentenced everyone, but I don't know if there were two other people there or not, and if those two other people were these ladies.
I don't even know, like, where is Renslayer, by the way?
No, remember, she was on the run. She took Miss Minutes with her, and she left, presumably to meet up with. Well, she might have been. We don't know. We don't know what happened to
or
her.
not he who remains, but
well, that's the thing. So we don't know if she went to. Presumably, she did not go to find Kang because that recording that we heard was her talking to he remains saying, "You're such a marvel."
right.
So the point being, she had a connection to that guy, and she was working for that guy, and now that guy's gone. So she left to. She's left to do something. We don't know what yet, but she took Miss Minutes with her. That's all we know.
I kind of feel like that's, like the whole thing about like hitting the ground running, that's not really a criticism. It's just I should have probably watched the finale again. But I feel like the one thing this episode could have done that it didn't do was like, I feel like there should have been at least some sort of like check-in with her, just because she was such a major focus of the first season. And it's like the most we get is just kind of like Mobius kind of like, giving us a reminder that she betrayed him. I don't know. I just kind of feel like,
I think they're building her up though, because again, the big thing is that Kang has a relationship with this woman, and we're kind of hinting at least he who remains had a relationship with her. So at the very least, Kang's going to have he's going to need this lady at some point.
What I'm getting at with my criticism is that like I just hope that with Kang and her, and then now this new council that we're introducing, I just hope that it doesn't become too muddied with antagonists. You know what I mean?
I am worried about
my only fear.
To bridge off your point, I too am concerned about the new the new Scottish panel lady.
The Scot, yes, she is very Scottish. You're right.
Yes. So again, they didn't really introduce. The problem with the TVA is a lot of our characters have like B-15 is like a name, so it's kind of hard to until they really formally introduce themselves. I know they were judges, so they actually probably had names, but they weren't really saying the names that often. So it's going to take at least an episode to really get a firm grasp on them, especially when there's kind of like leaving the parts unknown at the end of the episode. But yes, the Scottish lady, like the new one of the new council members. Assumably, she's up to something no good here. She's trying to get rid of Sylvie. Now I don't. Again, here's I know a lot of this is like Kang theorizing stuff. I mean, we don't. Again, we're just kind of dropping the status quo of like Loki. We are dropped into unfamiliar turf here. He was dropped into the past, which is essentially why no one remembers him because they haven't met him yet. But also, presumably, because time works differently at TVA, there should be no past. So that would be why they don't know him. Or could it be like minds were actually wiped? Which you have to wonder if minds were wiped. That's a plan by Kang because Kang's whole thing. Well, sorry. He Who Remains' whole thing was I want to prevent all the Kangs from coming through. So I'm gonna
yeah.
That's why we have the whole pruning thing period, which we bring up during the big meeting here, which makes sense. So that's the thing. Something is going on here, and this Scottish lady, she definitely wants to get rid of Sylvie because they want to keep.
Sylvie's another person who's kind of like on the board. Like granted, I respect the buildup they're doing with her a lot more. I wasn't really the biggest fan of hers in season 1, but I do like the trajectory that we're going with her character.
She made the big decision that has gummed up her works. Essentially, irrevocably, well, we haven't gotten quite there irrevocably yet, but irrevocably has altered the MCU as we know it. She made the big choice there. She let Kang out of Pandora's box. Well, she and
Oh,
Ant-Man.
so yeah. But I do worry that it's just too many pieces on the chessboard, especially for just 6 episodes.
Yes, but we are waiting to introduce some of these chess pieces, which makes me think maybe we're gonna like economize some of that as we go forward. But you're right, we do introduce some new players.
Uh
Um, let's see. Getting okay, so let's see. So we have the tape recording. We have like the big meeting there. So long story short, the TVA wants to keep things running. The head members there, they're starting to realize, oh god, we've been killing ourselves with all this pruning, like literally with the variants. So it's the big ethical conundrum. The Scottish lady just wants to keep things running. He says, no, we gotta prune the timelines to keep things running. And we do see there is a consequence to not pruning the variances and the timelines. Is that it will overwhelm the time loop, the big thing it controls. That's the thing. The TVA, from the get go, I guess thematically, with Loki as a character and what the TVA represents is it's order and Loki's kind of mischief and chaos and stuff like that.
sure.
So the whole the idea is it's kind of like Loki wanting free will and discover who he is now that he's kind of separated from who he was, and we're kind of seeing like can a Loki from Avengers get to the place where the Infinity Saga Loki went ultimately. Can he heroically kind of sacrifice himself to Thanos?
Mm.
So again, it's kind of like Loki's hero version, twisted version of a hero's journey. And the TVA is kind of like it's kind of forcing him on that journey, but also it's corrupt and it's an illusion. It's a trick that he's kind of working his way out of. So it's kind of the illusion of like you're taking everyone's free will away with the whole with the pruning timelines and everything. You can't make your own choices because you're endangering everything. So it's interesting that we're kind of challenging what the TVA stands for. We might be trying to dismantle it as per this show. Like it might be a thing of like we want to make sure Mobius gets that jet ski, and ultimately to get him that jet ski, we got to destroy the TVA.
Right.
And we do, Tiki, we're going to pay off the jet ski. We made a little reference to it at the top here. Says the guy making fun for the jet ski.
That's literally put in there just to be like, hey, by the way, remember there's going to be a payoff to this.
Yeah, there's gotta be.
If there's not Dragon, I people are going to fucking riot.
They will indeed. All right, so the best part of this.
What if he gets a jet ski, but he's just kind of underwhelmed by it?
You mean you want him to go the full shawarma with it?
Like, oh wow, this actually isn't as fun as I thought it would be.
Good. Okay, so the point being, there's discourse there, and there is a point of like, hey, if we don't control the thing, it's gonna blow up. We're gonna have a little meltdown of this time loom, and who knows what it'll do to the universe as we know it. Reality as we know if this thing gets destroyed. But again, that's stemming from them building something to control time, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like the big free will thing with Loki is that we did build something to control time and control people's destinies and free will and what their life path is going to be with like the frost giant turned trickster god sort of thing. Anyway, so the best part of this episode, frankly, it's for me the chemistry of Hiddleston and Owen Wilson just getting back in the swing of things when they're on that elevator together, man. Their chemistry is electric as it always has been. One of the big.
Well, right now I need a Loki who remains.
It's such a good line. I love that line so much because they keep throwing on "He Who Remains." I need a Loki because he is disappearing. It's a good line.
Right. Just Mobius's fixation with skin in this episode and how it like they play it both for comedy, but then also is like a really cool time travel reveal at the same time. That's pretty genius. Like that's some Back to the Future level shit. You know what I mean? When they can like take a running gag and then use it to explore some genuinely fascinating time travel theory.
It is just the best joke of the episode when he's in the elevator and it's like how does the time slipping look? It's just like it looks like you're being born and you're dying or both at the same time. It's like it's not that bad. And then they pan over to us.
That pan, man, the timing on that pan.
It's flawless. I love that there's what's so great about the comedy in this, there's also like some great unspoken gags of like Mobius and Loki just have this. They become friends at this point, and it's the fact that like they're just like Loki just repeating like the whole like it's OB, it's just OB, and you can sense like what they're saying without them actually spelling it. Like okay, we're in trouble. There's only one guy here. It's just like It's just OB. Just OB.
Right.
Speaking of which, let's talk about OB.
Yeah, I mean the elevator scene's great, Dragon. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic chemistry for
I'm
sure.
just saying that was like the warm blanket of, and we're reminded of what works about this show.
Totally,
But how do we
But
raise it even better?
this whole scene with OB is genuinely it's like Back to the Future Part 2 level time travel. Like I love it.
I think I know why you like this scene so much, Diggy.
Why?
This is the exposition done right from the end of
Well,
the season.
yeah, absolutely.
This is how you do the time travel exposition.
Right. I mean, that's the key to exposition, Dragon. You can't just have the characters standing around and talking the whole time. And that's literally what that finale was.
I know what the
Like,
other
you
reason.
have to have something else that's visually interesting to engage you. And that's exactly what this is.
I was thinking about you during this scene because I think the other reason I imagine you'd really love this scene, aside from the obvious of Kui Han, is very Wes Anderson directing style here.
Well, I mean, honestly, the whole look of the TVA, Dragon, that's nothing new. I mean, it's
I mean, sure, but
you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but just stylistically, the TVA has always kind of had.
Well, I'm saying I know there's always been a Wes Anderson, but I'm saying this scene very specifically, the way it's directed, the back and forth, that is Wes Anderson.
Back and forth, yeah. I
like that's full on, like Wes Anderson. I was geeking out about that during. Saying, oh man, this looks so directed by Wes Anderson. So yeah, Kui Huan, the Oscar winner, the great Oscar.
You say that so much better than I can.
So he is. So he's here. And he's great. He is it's such a wonderful performance. I love that he's hopefully this is not the last of them. I mean, if they really wanted to, this could be like a one and done episode, but it sounds like he's a fixture of the TVA now that we've
I need him to be in the rest of the season, Dragon. They can't just use us like this.
They're without Miss Minutes, and there's a line in this episode on the rewatch where essentially that Miss Minutes really ran the operation, and he would do like maintenance now and again, but essentially that's because Miss Minutes was there to run things. So without her running things, presumably they're going to need him more, which to me seems like an invitation for him to come back. So I'm hopeful that he will be back and he will be amazing as he is here.
Sure.
So Mr. Expo ever. This is lonely guy in the repairs and advancements room. He knows how to fix everything. He pretty much built the TVA, at least mechanically, and all the cool futuristic stuff. And just the way we have this conversation between past and present, between Loki and Mobius, and just the realization mid-conversation, it's so heady. The idea he doesn't know the answers yet until the timeline catches up.
Right.
Like he says, he knows time slipping at the start of the scene, but we don't know how he knows that. But Loki tells him what that is because he told him that. It's like this, and then that's thing. Ouroboros, the name. I mean, you know what Ouroboros means, don't you?
Is it something to do with like the Aurora Borealis in Alaska? Probably not.
No. Ouroboros. That's not even an A in that, Tiki. No, the Ouroboros.
That's just what the name reminds me of, okay?
Okay, no, the Ouroboros is apparently it's I know here's the thing. I knew the Ouroboros in kind of its relation to Japanese culture. I did not know the Ouroboros had roots in Norse mythology. It looked long. Essentially, Ouroboros is the snake eating its own tail, like the snake eating its.
Oh, okay.
That's Ouroboros is. So, literally, with kind of the way the time travel logic works here, this guy is he's kind of an embodiment of that with this scene. Which
he's
is really
basically
clever.
Just stuck in a pocket of time for eternity.
Well, and fun fact, there's actually two Ragnarok, not the movie, not Thor Ragnarok the movie, but it's kind of like comics Ragnarok and also Norse mythology Ragnarok. So the Ouroboros is actually Norse mythology Ragnarok, where apparently when the Ouroboros releases it, like it unclenches the jaw and releases the tail, that's when Ragnarok starts. It's when the end of everything starts. So literally, essentially, when infinity stops, that's when the end times come for the Norse gods. And then we have another one at the very end of the episode. The point being, Ouroboros is kind of like it's a cool idea and a fun name for the character.
All right.
So anyway, so I love Kui Huan here. The power surge. I love how it kind of turns dramatic here, where he learns, like, and he says, "Oh, the lights have been flickering all day." He says, "What?" And he's walking down the hall, and he's leading the charge. He's like, "I wrote this little orange manual." He tosses it to Loki, and we open the big temporal loom, which is this amazing money shot. We see basically all of time we've. My read on the visual of the loom essentially is all the branches are fed into like the central timeline, like through this little connecting point. Like that's literally what weaves.
Kind of like threading a bunch of needles all at once. Yeah,
all the threads going into the one strand.
Right, exactly.
And that's kind of like the processing, but now without, basically, because it's being overwhelmed by all the continually branching timelines, it's going to basically clog, and it's going to like melt down, explode. And they know what variants are now. So B-15, no, we can't kill him. So they just got to shut it down until he can basically build. So we know at a bare minimum we're going to see this guy again, because he still has to build something to stop this problem. So meanwhile, this gives us the stakes, Deke, and I like how direct and simple the stakes are for the episode. We got to shut this thing down, but before we do that, we got to fix Loki, and not in the scary way. We got to fix Loki's problem.
And the stakes are more or less also just keep the skin on Mobius.
Yeah.
Mobius does not want to lose his skin.
I like my mustache. I don't want to lose this. Yeah, so he does not want to lose the. I love the debate too of like, how does that work? I'm going to be ripped from time and space. It's just like, have you ever had your skin peeled off?
Honestly, Dragon, I kind of get the logic. Where it's like, it's kind of like the idea of like, would you rather die suddenly or die very painfully? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, my only argument to the skin thing is, well, Joker did it. He had his face cut off.
Yeah, well.
Then again, he's the definition of insane. So anyway, so yeah. So we have it's this great dual kind of climax we have going on here, which is very Inception-y too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I love it's very dream is collapsing. When I love when we do this. We did this last season with Lamentus, and it was kind of cool. I love when we have like this big. I don't believe we directed as. I'm pretty sure we didn't direct as a Warner like we did on Lamentus, but just the fact that Loki he's brought into he's brought to the TVA. I guess in the past. He doesn't have the like the pruning,
which is a great matchstick moment, Dragon. I thought right? As soon as that happened.
Yeah, I love it. So that's what he's like. Oh God, I have to find one of these, but everyone's frantic and run around like crazy. It's somehow yeah. So yeah, he's he's
really also can we talk about the duct tape, because I thought that was one of the best gags of the episode.
Yeah. Now, the only reason we didn't go with that is because there's no real good shot of it.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that rewatching it. Yeah,
it's cool. I love that gag. I'm a sucker for gadgetry and the duct tape solution. But yeah,
there's no good shot of Kiyoe Kwan and the duct tape in the same shot. Yeah, I noticed that.
At the very least, like the shot, like one shot of him, you can't see Mobius. It's a whole
right.
But yeah, so just this little crack, and like but for me, honestly, akin to the duct tape was Mobius walking to the hall. OB, this little piece came off. Is it important? Like that would terrify. But like oh God, my face could fall off, and he could be disincorporated completely and the little piece comes off.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, and I've had this before as someone who's a roller coaster enthusiast, is like, there are times when I've gotten on to particularly sketchy roller coasters, and it feels like the restraint didn't quite go down all the way. And it's like, in theory, you should be fine, but...
Did it latch? Just hold on tight. Wait, what?
Right. It's like... Well, keep in mind with coasters, there's the whole thing where it's like you don't necessarily, if it's just a lap bar, you don't necessarily want it to come down all the way because you want to get the air time.
And you're going up. Imagine this: you're going up and you're frantically waving like, "Let me off like Spielberg! Let me off like Spielberg!"
Oh my God!
But it's a roller coaster, so there's no like platform to get off on. It's like
You know what's funny is I remember as a kid. I really wanted to go on the Jurassic Park ride, but I was very intimidated by the drop. So I was honestly low-key jealous of Spielberg for being able to have that privilege of doing that. I was like, God damn it! I wish I could do that.
Let's have a thing like reserved for little sign on the side, reserved for Spielberg.
Oh God.
Anyway, but yeah, so Mobius, he's put in this time suit, which essentially will protect him from just these waves of time that will age him rapidly until I believe the idea is the skin would peel off his face from the time.
Uh-huh.
I think is the idea.
Well, the idea is that it's like because the suit's protecting him, and then the suit's gonna go, go first, and then once the suit's gone, well,
he'll be a walking skeleton.
Exactly.
Yeah, so but again, I love like the time factor here. He has to go there, he has to plug it in, and it's like this dual thing where he has to plug it in, and then when Loki's thing hits green, he's gonna have to kill himself at just the right time. Like only when that thing is green after he's plugged in there. But again, he doesn't have the tool with which to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it's like so risky because if he prunes himself, he's gonna have to go through the whole Elia thing all over again.
Exactly.
Yeah, it might even be worse for him. Who knows? But yeah, it's whole thing. Anyway, so Sylvie, Sylvie, as you see, saved Loki at the very last second when the elevators opened, and she pruned him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and I love that solution, but we jump at the hoof it thing.
Yeah.
Is the fact that he's like Mobius in this turtle suit, which is already a risk in itself. He says, and you're gonna hoof it back. He's like, hoof it back. Like, oh, baby, I'm gonna hoof it like you've never seen before. Okay. So just the fact that like Loki careening back to him on the other lines, like what got him over the finish. That's great. I love that.
Oh. All right. So yeah. I'm sorry. It's a lot of really good action beats all at once in this finale. Honestly, Dragon. Another thing I'm kind of slightly concerned about with this season is I'm slightly concerned. It's there were very high stakes in this episode. Really, really well directed action. Like, are we going to be able to keep up this momentum the whole time? That was kind of in the back of my mind. I was like, this almost feels like season finale worthy, especially that climax.
I mean, you're not. We are indeed starting big. That's for sure. Now, in terms of like what our layout here, we got 6 episodes. Episode 1
is literally just going to be Sylvie working at a McDonald's for an hour.
You got to admit, well, a little less than we've been going less than an hour on these. That's like firmly less. Than
I know.
But I got to admit though, I'm totally down for that though, because I'm being the fan of mundanity that I am.
Is that we're gonna get more at that McDonald's just because of that damn marketing campaign.
Me having the nostalgia for kind of 80s 90s McDonald's, I'm very much looking forward to.
I love the idea that it's like she goes there when the McNuggets are like the hot new menu item.
I love that Tiki. I love McDonald's nostalgia. I really do. I legit very. I love McDonald's nostalgia. It's one of the reasons I love the founder. So I'm so thrilled that they're doing it like a direct tie-in to McDonald's.
Now, obviously, it's like we got to look at it from the lens of like it is some very blatant product placement.
It is,
but you know what? The fact that it's like the nostalgia at the same time, and it deals with the time travel. It's like we're very much giving it a pass.
Okay, you want to hear something silly to keep track of this season?
Huh?
Okay, in the marketing, it's like on the products and everything for this season. There's going to be some green pie this season. I guess key lime pie, but essentially pie this season.
Okay.
I'm dying to know when that pie is going to show up, and specifically, is that pie going to be introduced as like a weird like time variancy like menu item at McDonald's? Like, is Sylvie working there going to get us like this green key lime looking pie?
Are we sure it's not just one of the '90s Ninja Turtles pies?
No, I'm sure it's not that. It's funny. It's funny. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia had those pies, Tiki.
Really?
For an episode in the new season, that was like a big plot point that they had like the green Ninja Turtle pies. Anyway, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the McDonald's setting. I like that. That's going to be kind of I imagine the way it's going to break down is episode 2, because the episode 1, it's kind of mirrors itself to the whole time repeating itself to some degree. I hope it's not going to be for the whole season, but episode 2 was in the first season was a big build to Sylvie. So now that we have, it's kind of interesting that we built the Sylvie in this first episode. So it feels like 2 in a similar vein is going to be the all Sylvie episode, or at the very least, Sylvie's going to be a big center point, but we know who she is this time, and we're going to see what she's been doing, what she's doing after. Like, Sylvie, you just essentially blew up the multiverse. What are you going to do now? I'm going to work at McDonald's.
right.
So that's going to be
this is a tiny little detail, but I just want to acknowledge, Dragon, given our affection for Lyle from Los Polos Hermanos.
Yeah.
I love me a good enthusiastic fast food worker.
This guy was good. I too got Lyle vibes from this young man.
Right. I mean, the fact that he's not only is he rattling off the whole menu, but he's giving specific suggestions, oh, there's a quarter pounder. That's my personal favorite. You can try it with or without cheese. But you know what my favorite little detail from this guy is, Dragon? It's a tiny little detail, it's hard to even notice it.
What is it?
At the very end of the episode, we have that big dramatic beat where Sylvie's like, I'm going to try everything. But then it's that's not the last line of the episode. The last line of the episode is the fast food worker being like, oh, well, all right then.
I know, right? That was great. I know exactly what you're talking about.
They put that little detail in there of that guy reacting to it. Oh, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to get one of everything. All right, let's do it.
That's great. They were doing the Bubble Buddy from SpongeBob thing.
Right.
So good. I need one of everything. Let's see oh god, that's great. So other fun fact, some significance to the whole, oddly, to the McDonald's of all things. So the location of said McDonald's, Broxton, Oklahoma, 1982. Technically, it's a nod to Ragnarok in the comics for Thor.
Oh, is it?
So I think the connection we're trying to make here, and it's not a big, I don't think you're going to anywhere serious, but I think thematically, but at least a little Easter egg sort of thing, but mainly thematically, the idea is a big status quo shift for the Asgardians happen. In this case, the big, the unraveling of the multiverse happens, and now we're kind of, so the idea is after that happened, he built new. It's like in Endgame, we destroyed Asgard and we built new Asgard in Norway. Remember? So that's essentially the same in the comics. Something similar to that happened. So Ragnarok happened, and then we have a new Asgard in this in Braxton, Oklahoma.
Got it.
So that's essentially. So I'm not saying, in a sense, she's to some degree she's building her new life in Braxton, Oklahoma, but as a McDonald's.
God.
Which out of context sounds insane, but I love it.
Yep.
So I'm
again, if the Dragon, if there wasn't such a very hyper specific nostalgia for 80s and 90s McDonald's, there's no way that they could get away with this sort of overt product placement.
I have a question.
Okay.
Did you hear about the sauce thing?
No, I didn't hear about the sauce.
Yeah. So I don't know when. I mean, you have to imagine they'd be introducing it now. But I heard.
You heard about the meal, right?
What meal?
It's called the As Featured In meal.
Oh, that. Oh, well, wait, there's a meal for that?
Apparently, yeah.
I know. Well, I've been going to McDonald's.
Because it's really just, it's nothing new.
Here's what I've seen. I mean, McDonald's. I've been seeing on the Cokes, on the cups for the when you get a beverage there, they have as featured, and on the, I guess, on the bags on the menu, on the fries, and they're putting it on the products. It says as featured in this McDonald's was featured in all these media things, which includes Space Jam, which includes Loki, which includes,
right, yeah.
That's what I've been seeing. But you're saying there's a meal that goes with that.
But I'm saying it's literally just an average McDonald's meal.
Yeah,
it's basically just a marketing gimmick.
Sure. Well, anyway, what I've heard, which by the way, there were things missing on that list. By the way, very intentionally, I noticed. For instance, Inspector Gadget 2.
Oh, come on! They're not going to put Inspector Gadget 2 on that list. Come on.
No, I bring it up because seriously, Tiki, I'm not joking. Inspector Gadget had really impressive Happy Meal toys and marketing for that film because you could build.
I actually kind of remember that.
I think you could. Tiki, I have a few feet away from me right this moment.
Oh my god!
I still have my from the first Inspector Gadget movie, the fully assembled Matthew Broderick Inspector Gadget from all those Happy Meal toys. Okay,
That's
so
awesome.
and Inspector Gadget 2, I bring the second one up because in that movie directly, I know technically you have like a little mini reference, a little mini product placement in the first one in the Gadget Mobile, but in 2, there's like Inspector Gadget gets McDonald's and has it in the movie.
Mhm.
Like while he's at like the Science Expo, for some reason there's a McDonald's in the Science Expo. That's where he gets it. So it's like literal product placement as seen in that movie, and it's not listed on all the other stuff because they're embarrassed by that movie. Anyway, so what I was getting at though, I don't know if they've I have to assume they've started now since the show's on now. I heard, I guess in the show, and I guess perhaps in real life, there's gonna be like a green sauce. I guess a sour sauce, like a green nugget sauce. And I have to wonder, given Michael Waldron was the guy who kind of started this party, a Rick and Morty writer.
Right.
That's the tongue-in-cheek nod to the whole the sauce craze.
Oh dear God! I truly feel like the Szechuan sauce thing was like the start of the downfall of Rick and Morty. Honestly,
So that's the thing. So
not the show necessarily, but just like the perception of the fan base. Like that was not a good look.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway,
I still remember I was going to not Magic Mountain. Wait, no, Universal Studios. I was going to Universal Studios that day. Monkey and I like we thought about like should we try and go get the Szechuan sauce? Nah. And it's like, okay, I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we avoided that fucking chaos.
You know, it'd be really funny. This is gonna be something really dumb. You want to hear a random tangent?
What?
I didn't mean to interrupt your point.
No, that's all it was. It's just, memories of that specific day and how I could have ended up at a McDonald's that was being under attack, but I didn't.
What if every time we had a random tangent that involved Universal Studios, we said it like that product placement Cat in the Hat, where it's like Universal Studios. I always hold up the brochure and stop. This is a ride.
You know what's funny, Dragons? I've never actually watched that movie, but honestly, I kind of think I might enjoy it.
Really?
Just because of the humor is so fucking out there.
Oh, that's one word for it.
I mean, obviously it's not going to be faithful to the tone of Dr. Seuss, and I'm not expecting it to be, but I don't know. I feel like I would enjoy it, honestly. And there is a subset of people, the people that grew up with that movie have been making video essays about it being underappreciated. So,
really?
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
I had no idea. Anyway, yes. So Sylvie, she's visiting McDonald's, and I think we're going to see her there more often.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
All right. Well, no comments, Dragon. I think that's probably a good sign that we should avoid Saturdays, right?
Yeah, that would. Well, we're going to be stuck with probably one more, but that's the thing. Unfortunately, folks, Loki's going to probably be a weekend thing, just given things. But who knows? You never know.
I mean, I don't know. I just following the YouTube algorithm, I noticed that at least as far as my subscribers go, Saturday is all or my subscriptions, the channels I'm subscribed to. Saturday is always the day where it's there's just not a lot of shit being uploaded. I think it's just it's a weird thing with the YouTube algorithm. I think everyone just kind of assumes people are doing other shit and don't want to watch YouTube on Saturdays. So, I spend too much damn time on this website. Anyways, any final thoughts, Dragon?
No, just again, I'm looking forward to more Loki. That was a solid intro, and bring it on.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like 6 episodes might be the sweet spot here, just because we are dealing with a lot, but I kind of feel like just to keep the momentum up. You know what I mean? Honestly, if there were more episodes than 6, I'd be a little bit more worried about the idea of okay, can every episode live up to this one? But since it's just 6, it's and they clearly do have a plan mapped out, we have to kind of look at it through the lens of like, all right, like, is this just going to be like essentially like, you know, like 6 mini movies? That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Okay. Well, that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just Plus and Us. I do not.